The Uptown at Night series continues September 22nd at the Fredericton Inn. This is MRTI Radio. I'm Rob, and we're about to meet the artist that evening, Grace Petrie.
Well, it's a jungle out there. The year 2018, I didn't think we'd still be sorting babies into blue and pink. And all our progress, well, I wonder what it means that the only girls' clothes that work for me turn out to be boyfriend jeans. Well, that's fine, 'cause I decline a narrow set of rules that just don't work. 'Cause these red lines, well, they're not mine. And if you need me, you can find me ironing my shirt, 'cause I'm in black tie tonight. Get a postcard to my year 11 self in a year 11 hell, saying everything's gonna be alright. No, you won't grow out of it. You will find clothes that fit, and the images that fucked you were a patriarchal structure. And you never will surrender to a narrow view of gender. And I swear there'll come a day when you won't worry what they say on the labels, on the doors. You will figure out what's yours. And it's a bloody nightmare, trying to fight the spread of bigotry and fear that's uniting Piers Morgan and Jermaine Greer. And all our progress, yeah, I wonder who it's for. When I dared to utter that trans lives matter here, and all I got was a turf war. Well, that's fine, 'cause I decline your narrow set of rules, they just don't work. These red lines, well, they're not mine. And if you need me, you can find me ironing my shirt, 'cause I'm in black tie tonight. Get a postcard to my year 11 self in a year 11 hell, saying everything's gonna be alright. No, you won't grow out of it. You will find the clothes that fit, and the images that fucked you were a patriarchal structure. And you never will surrender to a narrow view of gender. And I swear there'll come a day when you won't worry what they say on the labels, on the doors. You will figure out what's yours. You will figure out what's yours, and that it's got nothing to do with fitting neatly in a box that was constructed to make it seem like people come in just two teams, and anything that's in between ain't good enough. And you will love, and you'll be loved, and you're in black tie tonight. Get a postcard to my year 11 self in a year 11 hell, darling, everything's gonna be alright. No, you won't grow out of it. You will find clothes that fit, and the images that fucked you were a patriarchal structure. No, you never will surrender to that narrow view of gender. And there's folks you've yet to meet, but you're exactly up their street, and they've been waiting just as long to hear someone sing this song. And better days are on their way when it won't matter what they say on the labels, on the doors. You will figure out what's yours. And girl, you're gonna be so happy. And girl, you're gonna be just fine. And girl, you're gonna be so happy. Down the line, down the line.
That's Black Tie from Grace Petrie, coming to Fredericton for part of the Uptown at Night series, September 22nd at the Fredericton Inn. We have Grace Petrie on the line for MRTI. Hello, Grace. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for talking to me. How are you doing?
My pleasure. We're doing fine. September 22nd. It's not a black tie affair, though, is it? It's a little more informal than that, right?
No, yeah, there's no dress code at all. I mean, I tend to sort of actually sing. I tend to do my shows wearing a black tie and a waistcoat, but I don't demand that from the audience.
Welcome back to Canada in advance. Not the first time you've been here, right?
No, gosh, no. I think this will be my 7th or maybe even 8th visit. I love Canada. I try and get over as often as I can.
When I was listening to your music, getting prepared for this interview, I really like that you sing in the British vernacular. Like you've got the language and the accents and the words that just really sell it. And why is it, do you think, that a lot of talent from the UK, you don't hear that as much? Is it coached out of them, or tell me why? Tell me more about that.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's very common, obviously, for British singers to kind of maybe sort of affect a kind of North American accent when they're singing. I guess we get so much kind of American music over in the UK, so I think there's a kind of sense of emulating that. I mean, it wasn't a sort of decision for me to sing in my own accent. I just always sort of naturally did. But it's a thing that people have really picked up on over the years. People often say to me, "Oh, I can really hear your." Yeah. I'm from the Midlands in England. I'm from a city called Leicester in the middle.
Right.
So people have often said to me, "Oh, it's really nice to hear a Midlands accent coming through in your song."
I'm a big fan of Billy Bragg as well, and you've done shows with him, and that you've toured with him. That's one of the things I've really enjoyed about his music in the past. He really sells it. As a protest singer, you really feel like what he's singing about is very genuine and from the heart, because he has his own voice, which is your voice as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously a huge fan of Billy, and he's been a massive inspiration to me and influence on my songwriting. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that's the thing that we're all sort of striving for, is that thing that Billy's got in spades, which is, the authenticity of you can tell he really believes in what he's saying. You can tell he really means the politics. And that's definitely something, that's had a big impact on shaping my songwriting, I'd say.
Because you consider yourself a protest singer as well, right? I think I read that in your bio somewhere.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Been a protest singer for sort of 13 years now. I mean, I often joke that I'm quite an ineffectual one. I don't know how much your listeners are sort of au fait with British politics, but things have certainly gotten far more awry in the time that I've been writing left-wing protest music, so I can't say that I'm necessarily making much headway in terms of changing hearts and minds over here, but I keep at it.
There's lots of fuel for your fire over there in your politics, being Brexit and all that. What was your take on that?
I mean, I was very anti-Brexit. I still am very anti-Brexit. I mean, now we're sort of a few years in, we're kind of starting to see the results on the economy and, lots of the kind of environmental provisions of the European Union. Now Britain has left, with terrible things going on with kind of sewage companies pumping sewage into our rivers and our oceans, which are things that they weren't allowed to do before Brexit. So it's really heartbreaking to see something that, so many of us knew was going to be such a disaster. Now the proof is really in the pudding, and we're seeing those disastrous results.
Well, looking in from the sidelines, watching that whole situation unfold, from my point of view, it was almost like there's no way this can work out well. As a protest singer in 2023, there's a lot of noise out there. Is it harder to punch through that noise? When I say noise, I'm talking about politics of the world, social media, and its skewed take on things. I don't know. It seems like the world is amped up right now. And is it harder to punch through that as a protest singer? I guess that's my question.
Another thing that you experience, I suppose, is apathy. Like I said, I've been doing this for 13 years. And when I started out, I was part of a sort of young generation of sort of new kind of left-wing activists just getting politicized. Yep. And we had endless amounts of energy for the cause at that time. And, we're sort of 13 years of frankly, of losses down the line. And that does affect people's spirit, that affects people's levels of energy. And I think the thing about what I do, I suppose, I've tried to sort of bear in mind that if there's any usefulness to being a protest singer, then I think it's in reminding people they're not alone, reminding people that there are other people who share these values, who share these politics, and that you can make a difference, because I think it's a curious thing that, we're living in this deeply technologically connected world, and in lots of ways we've sort of never been as connected to each other as we are. But I think also, I would say that, from the people that I talk to, I feel like people feel more and more alienated all the time.
Absolutely.
We're sort of seeing, as you say, all of this noise, and the great thing about doing a gig and doing a show is that when you have a whole bunch of people around you singing the same thing and singing the same kind of chorus for politics you believe in, I think it really sort of puts fuel in the tank, I'd say. That's the hope anyway.
You got your first real six string, got your heart full of pain. You got the makings there, kid, of a lucrative campaign. You got your story and your spirit, you got a rock and roll dream. We've got an office in Hackney, we've got a really cool team. 'Cause we love your authentic, lonely outsider type. But big up that aesthetic on your socials for the hype. Whoever said the revolution wouldn't be televised? They didn't have our contacts yet, they didn't have our PR guys. But I was reaching out for a lifeline, fighting the tide, and I was trying to work out why. If my name is up in lights and it's all going right, I've never been as lonely as tonight. I've never been as lonely as tonight. Well, every night I get the spotlight and I get out this guitar, and like so many folk before me, use it to open up my scars. And I don't know if it's helping or if it's driving me insane. I'm just after confirmation, that somebody feels the same. Yeah, I'm reaching out for a lifeline, fighting the tide, and trying to work out why. If my name is up in lights and it's all going right, I've never been as lonely as tonight. I've never been as lonely as tonight. Rain or wreck or ruin, I'll be following these dreams the same way I've been doing since the middle of my teens. If there's a single person out there to whom this song something means, I take one lonely broken heart over 100 million streams. Still got this six string, still got my heart full of pain, and I don't know how to fix things, but I'm still in the game. Maybe I don't know what the point is, maybe I'm never gonna see, but long as anybody's listening, this is where you'll find me. I'm gonna be reaching out for a life vest, fighting the tide, and giving you my best. Turn down all the lights and stay with me in this fight, between me and my loneliness tonight. Yes, so let me see your hands. I need someone who understands that when I'm out here all alone, that this right here is home. So let me hear you sing and think that you're the only thing between me and my loneliness tonight. Save me from my loneliness tonight.
You've played some pretty big festivals. and stages all over the world. How is it to come to a tiny venue like the Fredericton Inn, Grace, and do a performance? Again, to plug the show, you are in town, Grace Petrie, the UPTOWN at Night series put on by MRTI, September 22nd at the Fredericton Inn. It'll be an intimate, it's a cozy room. I've seen shows in there. It's very nice. Is it a massive change of gears in what you do in portraying it to a festival audience, to a room of, say, 100 people?
See, I love doing big shows and I love playing at big stages on festivals. But honestly, I think I go into this gig to connect with people. That's what I've always been trying to do. And I think, I'm sort of a typical folk singer in the sense that I tell a lot of stories on stage between songs. I do a lot of talking and sort of joking around with the crowd. And I really love playing small rooms, and I love to travel, and I think New Brunswick is so beautiful. So it's just such a privilege for me that this is what I get to do with my life. I love Eastern Canada, and the idea of kind of getting to go to new places and meet new people who maybe have never seen or heard me before. That just it excites me as much as it did when I started out as an 18-year-old. It's still a real magic part of the job when you have a room, a small intimate room of people, from a totally different place who maybe have never heard anything you've done before, and to get to sort of spend that night, letting them know who you are and what you do, and by the end of it, you feel like we've really sort of created a moment and a bit of community here. That's a really, really lovely magic feeling that never goes away.
We're in conversation with Grace Petrie. Again, Grace is playing the UPTOWN at Night series at the Fredericton Inn, September 22nd. Tickets are still available. You mentioned you like to joke around with the crowd and stuff like that. You've actually toured with a lot of comedians as well. How is it mixing? Is that a natural fit, working your music with comedy? Does that work well? Are the comedians particularly political leaning as well? So maybe there is a balance there. How does comedy work in with your show?
Well, yeah, the comics that I've been lucky to tour with and perform with, they all do tend to be quite sort of politically, I guess, conscious in their material. I think there's always, certainly in British folk, there's always been a bit of a crossover between the storytelling element between songs, and it's always been a sort of part of folk music to work jokes into that side of things. And I just found that I really enjoy that part of the show as much as I enjoy the songs. So for me, the kind of the chatting in between songs and the jokes and things have kind of that bit's gotten longer and longer the longer I've been performing. And I think there's people like obviously the fantastic Billy Connolly and Billy, obviously of course Billy Bragg. He tells a lot of jokes and funny stories in between songs. And I think that's always been something that's been a part of what I do. And then, I was lucky to be introduced to a lot of comics who, as you say, were, very political in their material. So it felt like a good fit via the sort of protest art angle. And then I just found that I just enjoyed it so much that, it's sort of impossible now for me to imagine just sort of doing a straight show without any laughs throughout, I suppose.
The press has been really kind to you. The New Yorker gave a glowing review that hailed the track that we heard. To start off our piece tonight, Black Tie, as the new gay anthem. Was Anthem, did you have that in mind, or do you ever have Anthem in mind when you are writing music? Do you set out to write anthems?
I think we all do. I guess the word anthem, I guess, calls to mind something that, everybody can feel sort of
it's a rallying
and
point.
celebrated by. A rousing point, absolutely. And I think, I don't know any songwriter that isn't seeking to do that. What's funny for me about Black Tie is that, when I wrote that song, I thought that would really only mean much to me because I thought it was quite a sort of niche experience. It's kind of about growing up as a gay kid, as a lesbian, and being, I guess, a bit of a tomboy as a kid, and then growing up and not really growing out of that, and finding that, the world was sort of very much geared towards very feminine women and very masculine men, and feeling like I was somebody who sort of didn't really fit into either box. And, I wrote Black Tie kind of as a sort of, I guess, a self-comforting kind of song. And I liked it. And when I finished it, I thought, well, that was important for me to write, and it was very cathartic, but I don't imagine that it's really going to mean much to anybody else. And I couldn't have been more wrong, you know.
Lo and
it
behold.
it went on to be my sort of most, most popular song. And yeah, I mean, as you say, the New Yorker, crikey, wrote a fantastic article about it. So it's funny, you know, you sort of say, did you set out to write an anthem? And it's funny that you can never predict, I guess. That's the great thing about it, is that whether something is an anthem or not is very much in it's in the eye of the listener. And I think, you know, it's funny how it happens sometimes. You write things and you think, this is going to be the one that everybody loves, and it's not at all. And then you write one that you think, well, I guess this won't really mean much to anybody else, and that's the one that they really take into their hearts. It's really amazing.
That may be where you are a little off, because I think right now the timing is perfect for a song like Black Tie, and I'm not surprised that people have got behind it the way that they have. It's a great song. It really is.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, and I am so looking forward to the show coming up on September 22nd. Do you throw in some covers just to show where you're coming from, or is it an entirely set of original music that you do, or does it get that loosey-goosey affair where you dig out the songs from your past that kind of got you started? Or
yeah, big time. I mean, well, I always like to say, particularly when I travel, I always like to say, if anyone's got any requests, we always try and do those, because I think it's lovely if somebody, particularly to be all the way over in Canada on, you know, the other side of the world, to have somebody kind of know a song. I'll always try and do the request. I mean, I perform on the road with a fantastic musician called Ben Moss.
Yes.
He'll be with me in Fredericton. And he's a phenomenal fiddle player and accordion player and lots of other things. And I'm really, really blessed to have him working with me.
Yeah.
And he and I, during lockdown, we actually we recorded and we sort of posted a whole series, a whole alphabet of cover songs. So we did one a day for every letter of the alphabet.
Really?
So we have a kind of big old repertoire of cover songs, and every now and then we do bust out a couple of those.
Under F, you should put the song Four Strong Winds. I'd love to hear that sung in your voice.
Yeah?
Do you know that song, Four Strong Winds?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, it's a beautiful Canadian folk song written by Ian Tyson.
Okay.
Neil Young has covered it. It's a gorgeous song. Definitely worth looking up.
I'll cue it up.
All right. Grace, look, thank you for your time today. Grace Petrie, coming to Fredericton, the Uptown at Night series at the Fredericton Inn. It's been a true pleasure to talk to you, and I can't wait to meet you on that night, Grace.
Likewise, Rob. Thank you very much.